This episode, let me just put it out there. This will be kind of interesting. But this episode will be a criticism. I think it's gonna come off as a criticism to black people. So just, there's your warning, I guess. Okay. First story, comes from Fox News. Here we go. Arizona high school football coach resigns after being accused of running up score. Okay, an Arizona high school football coach resigned from his post on Monday after accusations he was running up the score during a game. Devin DeRusso, I think that's how you pronounce it, was the lead coach of La Jolla Community High School in Avondale. The team defeated Glendale Cooper Canyon 60-0. So they were pistol whipped. Okay. DeRusso told Arizona Republic he stepped down after he was accused of wrongdoing. I was threatened to be removed from the sideline for our upcoming game against Valley Vista if we scored another point in the Glendale Cooper Canyon game. He told the newspaper the AD and principal had a meeting with me this morning and basically told me I was in the wrong. We had one special team score and two defensive scores in the second half. My first team only scored once and we ran the ball with my second and third team running back and scored. He added, per the conversation, I stepped down because I was accused of wrongdoing and running up the score. La Jolla has 3 wins on the season. The school defeated Phoenix Alhambra 63-7 in its last game. The team has 2 losses, a 75-35 defeat to Scottsdale Chaparral and a 47-7 loss to Chandler Basha. The school has not commented on the matter. Cooper Canyon head coach Sean Freeman told the Arizona Republic he was surprised to learn that DeRusso was out as the coach. To me, it's not that big of a deal. We just got beat fair and square, Freeman said, adding, it's football, and if you're not showing up with your A game, that's what happens. He was hired as the head football coach in February after spending 7 years as an assistant. Now let me say this. Sports. Let me say this about running up the score. To me, I don't care. Sports is a competition. And here's the worst thing about this story. These kids are in high school, okay? These are about to be grown men, and this coach got in trouble because his football team dropped 60 unanswered points on the opposing team. Let me say this. The opposing head coach put it perfectly. He got beat fair and square. There's no problem here. I don't see any wrongdoing. Here's the thing. If you don't want to get beat by 60, put up some points. Just simply put up some points. Now, here's the thing. In a vacuum, if you took this game by itself and said, okay, this coach beat him 60-0. This team beat this team 60-0. If you were going to fire any coach, you would fire the coach of the team that had 0. This whole sportsmanship thing, I get it. It's a good thing. Being a good winner, good loser. But here's what you need to understand. There are times in life where you win. There are times in life where you lose. There are times in life where you have an unbelievable victory. And there are times like this, not just in sports, where you are completely destroyed and just defeated utterly. It happens. That's life, and that's especially sports. It's just that simple. And for this guy, I don't understand. I don't understand. his offense. Here's the thing. The coach. Okay. So they had one special team score, 2 defensive scores in the second half. Okay, so the first team. It's ridiculous. His starters on offense only scored 1 time. This is bad coaching. This is bad coaching. Is not even the correct phrase for it. It's not a strong enough phrase. This horrendous coaching, clueless coaching, that's the problem. Because let me tell you something. When your defense scores most of the points, that is bad coaching and terrible offense. There's just no execution at all. I mean, they didn't even get a field goal. 60-0. And you know, football games in high school, they're on Fridays. You know, it's kind of the big event of the week. I mean, just imagine your team getting pistol whipped by 60, and you don't even put up a field goal. That'll just deflate your weekend. But I gotta be real here, man. This coach did nothing wrong. I mean, he didn't do a thing wrong. If you don't want to lose, here's the thing. You will lose. It's going to happen. But you know, it's on you to put up points. It's like this. I'm not going to limit myself because you are so bad. I'm not going to do that. I mean, what I don't understand. This is just wrong. This is just wrong, in my opinion. I believe when you have this situation, if I were the coach in the meeting and they called me in, they said, Solo, can you come in for a meeting? You know, just come in for a little bit. Yeah, sure. I go in, I sit down. I'm looking at the principal. I'm looking at the athletic director. And I sit there and they say, let me just think of what they might say. Okay, do you know why you're here today? I'm gonna assume something football related. They say yeah. So last game, your team beat another team 60-0. I would say yes, we did. And then they would say, what do you think about that? I thought it was a good team win. Everyone got playing time. The other team, we just whooped them in every way. And they would say, okay, do you think it was wrong to put 60 on a team? I would probably ask them to repeat the question again because I would think that I misheard it. Because I'm again, man, these are kids. These are kids who are about to be men. They're about to, in 1, 2, 3, or 4 years, they will be of legal age. And you want to get rid of me because my team just killed the other team. That's ridiculous. That's just soft. That's just soft. I think it's absolutely ridiculous. that's really all I have to say about this topic. I saw this story. And this is it just really hit a nerve with me, because I was like, I thought I misread the headline, but I didn't. And it was just ridiculous to me that a coach that the powers that be would try to oust a coach for running up the score. This isn't Pee-wee. This isn't Tiny Tots. These kids aren't first, second, and third grade. And even then, I would say, when kids lose, they should lose by however much they lose by. But I mean, here's the thing. I would say this. If this was a coach of like first, second, and third grade level, I guess I would say, okay, I don't like it. I think it's stupid, but I get it because they're really young. These are high school kids. Running up the score is ridiculous. That's a ridiculous reason to fire someone. Or to try to fire someone. We'll see if this guy gets another job. I don't get it. I personally don't get it. But that's really all I have to say about the story. And let me say this, man. Let me talk about effort for a little bit. Effort. You need to, whatever you're doing, you need to give it your best. Some things you'll be good at, some things you'll be bad at. That's life. No one is good at everything. So when you do these things, you just got to give it your all and, put your best foot forward and hope for the best. Prepare for the worst, hope for the best. And if you lose or if you fail at something, it's, just learn from it and move on and try to avoid that from happening again. These guys who lost 60-0, that's humiliating. That's humiliating. Now, I don't know if this game was at home, for the team that lost, but it's humiliating either way. 60-0, when you are down, let me just say this. It is very easy to tell in sports who's going to win when the score is very lopsided. Because when you go into a game, you put forth your very best strategy. Okay? And when that's not working, what do? Go to your second best strategy? If your best thing isn't working, your second best plan probably isn't going to work. So, they were just clueless. They were like, man, we don't know. We just got to wait out this game, just weather the storm, because we don't know what to do. They are just that much better than us. And it just shocks me. It just shocks me that this guy's out of a job because of this. Maybe he's gonna, go somewhere else. Maybe he'll get hired somewhere else. I don't like seeing people unemployed. But I think it's just ridiculous. I think that this is totally and utterly ridiculous. Alright. Now, here comes the criticism that I was talking about. This is a short article, but just, stay with me here. Here we go. This is from abcnews.go. Okay. Illinois restaurant, and I have multiple takes on this. Okay, so just stick with me. Illinois restaurant tried to reseat over skin color. This is by the Associated Press. A group of mostly African American people celebrating a birthday party at a Buffalo Wild Wings in suburban Chicago alleged that they were asked to change tables because of their skin color. Justin Vall, I think that's how you pronounce it because it's Vahl, says he went to a Naperville restaurant last month with children and adults when a host asked him about his ethnicity. Well, it's a short article. I'll go back to that. Later, a manager asked the group to move because a regular customer didn't want to sit near black people. Vall of nearby Montgomery says he's multiracial. His wife, Mary, first shared the story on social media. After several managers tried to move the group, they left for another restaurant. A Buffalo Wild Wings spokesperson says a thorough investigation is being conducted and apologized for any unacceptable behavior. The DuPage County NAACP says it'll look into the matter. Okay, that's all the article says. It's very short. This came out yesterday. But okay. Here comes the first disclaimer. If this is indeed true, if this is indeed the reason that they were asked, first of all, if they were asked to move at all. Secondly, if this truly was the reason that they were asked to move because of their skin color, I think that's just ridiculous. Because let me say this. So if you have a group of people who are just going about their business, eating, talking, laughing. Now, if they're being like drunk and loud and just disrupting everybody, then you do something about it, okay? But you have one person who is just irked, unnerved, and you can choose the word, but they are bothered. We'll use that word. They are bothered by the group, supposedly because of the group's skin color and their ethnicity. And they just said, you know what? Excuse me, could you please ask them to move because I don't want to be around black people. Now, this is just really interesting to me because I don't understand. Because here's the thing. They said it's a regular customer. So it's like this. Let's name the regular customer Joe. Okay? If I was the manager and Joe called me over and I said, "Yeah, Joe, what's going on? How you doing?" They said, "Yeah, man, he says, "Hey, Solo, I'm doing pretty well. Those black people over there, could you move them?" And I'd be like, "I'm sorry, what?" He says, I don't want to sit near him. Instead of trying to move a party, I gotta say this. This story just sounds off. Because let me say this. In the climate that we live in today, what dingbats would draw this negative attention to themselves, asking a group of black folks to move simply because of their skin color? That just doesn't make any sense to me. I gotta be honest. If I was a manager, and let's say the general manager came out and told me to do that, I'd be like, "No, I'm not doing that." What? That just doesn't even make sense to me. If I were just talking to Joe, I'd be like, "Joe, do you want me to sit do you want to sit somewhere else?" Because first of all, you're by yourself. This isn't one group asking to move the other group. And I have this belief. If one specific group has a problem, you just move that group. Why? Because let me say this again. How does it go? Oh yeah. Offense is taken. It's not given. I can't make you feel a certain way. Your feelings come from inside of you. So if you feel a certain way, if you feel intimidated, or you feel scared, or you feel upset, or you feel happy, or you feel excited, or you feel nervous, that is your problem. That is your burden to bear. I can't make you feel a certain way. I can't push. It's not like I have a keyboard. It's not like people have a keyboard, and when they say a message, when they say something to someone, they can't push the letter H on the keyboard to make that other person feel happy, or push A to make them angry, or push S to make them sad. No. The message goes out. The person who receives the message, however they receive it, however they perceive it, that is on them. That is their problem. But now, here comes the part that will sound like criticism. Okay? So, this story to me is just very interesting. But let me say this. Black people, when we go out in public, we're loud. We have the stereotype of being loud, obnoxious, talking a lot, not being very courteous. We don't tip. And so I'm going to be honest. If I had a choice, to sit with either, or to sit, I should say this, to sit near a white family or a black family, or let's just not say family, let's say group. Let's say a group of blacks and a group of whites. I would prefer, if I'm with my friends, I would prefer to sit near the whites. Here is why. And it's for the reasons I said. Blacks, we laugh. When we laugh really loudly, and we're obnoxious. We cuss more. We just don't seem as civil. And so I would rather sit near the white. I would rather sit near the whites because they're quieter, and it's just like I want to be able to interact with my own conversation and not have to be, have to shout to my friends for them to hear me and for them to shout so I can hear them. We are just naturally louder. That's what we do. I'll say this. Black people are funny. I don't know why, but a group of black people is just, if you take a group of black people and a group of white people, the black people, in my opinion, are more entertaining. They're funnier. And I don't think I'm the only one who believes that, but I think I am one of the few who would admit that. But I'm gonna end here, man, on this topic. If this story seems so bizarre, here's what I think happened. This group, I believe this group was being a little raucous, to say the least. I think they were loud. I think they were being obnoxious. I just don't see managers, multiple managers, I should say, trying to move this family because of their skin color. That just doesn't seem like anything that they would do. I don't see it. But I'll say this. I'll give Justin Val and his group some credit here. Or I'll say this. I'll give them the benefit of the doubt. If this is true, these managers are just idiots. I mean, I can't think of a... And also, I gotta say this. Why would a host come up to a person and ask them about their ethnicity. That just doesn't make any sense. That is such a bizarre question from a hostess to a patron. I don't know. But this is certainly an interesting story. And yeah, man, this seems bizarre. This seems very bizarre, and it wouldn't surprise me if there was more to this story than is being said. But I could be wrong. We'll see if any more of this story comes out. But I'm definitely intrigued because this just doesn't make any sense. This is just a strange story. Like, I read this and I'm like, if there's one dude who's upset about being near a group, it's easier to move the individual than it is to move the group. Seriously. This just seems like a strange story, and I don't know what's going to happen here. That's it for this story. What I said may have come across as racist, but I seriously don't care. You know, me and my family, when we go out to eat, we have often had our meals, I shouldn't say often, but on multiple occasions at different places by different families, we have had our meals paid for because our family was we were just quiet, we were civilized, and when me and my siblings were younger, they were just like, oh my goodness, your kids are just so well behaved. How do you do that? We have been recipients of those compliments. So, you know, it's just rough. It's just rough when you hear this story. But I'm telling you, man, it's like this. If you go to a black movie theater, which I don't suggest you do, if you're trying to see a movie and you're trying to enjoy the movie and you're trying to watch the movie, don't go to a black movie theater, because black people like to talk. We talk during the movie. We talk during the previews, which to me, I care about the previews, because that's partially what you're paying for. When you really break down what you're paying for with a ticket, you're trying to watch the previews. You're trying to watch the movie. You're trying to be comfortable. At black movie theaters, we just tend to talk and we focus more on the conversation and the people next to us rather than what's on the screen in front of all of us. There are just certain things that we just tend to do as a culture. I'm not saying it's good. I'm not saying it's bad, but it has its pros and its cons. It does. Everything has its benefits and it has its drawbacks. All right. So that's that story. Take it how you like it. Okay. Now, here's another thing. This is from The Hill. This is from yesterday. This is from yesterday night, actually. Okay, Castro hits Buttigieg over bad track records with African Americans. Okay, here we go. This should really be interesting. Democratic presidential candidate Julian Castro took aim at South Bend, Indiana Mayor Pete Buttigieg over his record on racial issues on Sunday. At a press gaggle at Warren County Democratic Party's fall dinner, The former Obama administration official says that Buttigieg had a bad track record with African Americans on the issues. Just look at his track record as mayor. Castro's campaign confirmed the secretary's remarks when the Hill asked for comment and pointed to remarks Castro made Saturday at the NAACP forum at Drake University in Des Moines in response to Buttigieg's assertion that the Democratic Party was essentially a two-person race between himself and Senator Elizabeth Warren. It's not. Okay? Let me just say this. Well, you know what? I'm going to save it to the end. Anyone who thinks this is a two-person race doesn't know anything about the Black and Latino communities, Castro said at the forum. Buttigieg. Now, I will say this. Do I think Warren is in? I think, as you guys know, I have Warren. This isn't in any particular order, but I have Warren, Biden, and Sanders being in the top three. I believe everyone else is going to just fall out. I personally, I don't think Castro's far behind in terms of dropping out next. Beto, he dropped out over the weekend, which it was just a matter of time. It's going to start trickling down, okay? The numbers are just going to start decreasing. Buttigieg's campaign did not immediately return a request for comment from the Hill. The South Bend mayor has failed to gain traction among Democratic voters of color, particularly black voters, and has faced criticism for his response to a police shooting of an unarmed black man in the city. A Washington Post ABC News poll released Sunday showed Buttigieg making gains but still trailing former VP Joe Biden and Senators Elizabeth Warren and Bernie Sanders. Okay, now let me say this, man. Let me say this. Let me just say something about. Okay, well, let me say what I was going to say earlier before I make my next comment. Okay. Buttigieg is out. Pete, let me say this about Pete. When I first saw him, when I saw that he was going to run, here's what I thought. The minute I heard of Pete Buttigieg, and then I visually saw him, I looked at him and said, he has no chance. And you want to know why I said that? It's going to be very, very blunt. Here it comes. There are two reasons why Pete Buttigieg is not going to win. He's short and he's gay. That is the reason he's not going to win. Now let me just go with the short aspect. Okay? Well, you know what? Let me start with the short aspect. Okay. So, here are the presidential heights over time. Okay, these are the average. Okay, so these are the averages. No, these aren't the averages. These are the heights of all presidents that we've ever had, okay? This is in order from tallest to shortest. Okay, so Abraham Lincoln was the tallest president at 6'4". James Madison was the shortest at 5'4". The average height of the first 44 presidents is 5'11" tall. This is from POTUS.com. Okay, so it's a reliable source. And these heights here, these are true because I've read a lot of biographies and stuff like that. These heights are spot on. Okay. So let me say this about Pete. Pete is my height. I'm gonna say his height is anywhere from 5'8" to 5'9". I'm 5'8.5". I think if I stood right next to him, he would look just a little bit taller than me. Okay, so here are the heights. So just remember that. Just put 5'8". Just put 5'8" in your mind. 5'8.5". And I've done research on Buttigieg's height. And the most consistent things I found is 5'8", okay? So here we go. Lincoln, 6'4". Lyndon Baines Johnson, 6'3.5". Donald Trump, 6'3". Thomas Jefferson, 6'2.5". George Washington, 6'2". Chester Arthur, 6'2". Franklin Delano Roosevelt, 6'2". George H.W. Bush, 6'2". Bill Clinton, 6'2". Andrew Jackson, 6'1". JFK, 6'1". Reagan, 6'1". Obama, 6'1". James Monroe, 6 foot. John Tyler, 6 foot. James Buchanan, 6 foot. James A. Garfield, 6 foot. Warren G. Harding, the corrupt man that was, 6 foot. Gerald R. Ford, 6 foot. William Howard Taft, 5 feet 11 and a half. Same for Herbert Hoover. Same for Richard Nixon. Same for George W. Bush. Grover Cleveland, 5'11". Woodrow Wilson, 5'11". Dwight D. Eisenhower, 5 foot 10 and a half. Franklin Pierce, 5'10". Andrew Johnson, 5'10". Theodore Roosevelt, 5'10". Calvin Coolidge, 5'10". Jimmy Carter, 5'9 and a half. We're getting closer. Millard Fillmore, 5'9". Harry Truman, 5'9". Rutherford B. Hayes, 5 foot 8 and a half. William Henry Harrison, 5'8". James K. Polk, 5'8". Zachary Taylor, 5'8". Ulysses S. Grant, 5'8". John Quincy Adams, 5'7 and a half. John Adams, 5'7". William McKinley, 5'7". Martin Van Buren, 5'6". Benjamin Harrison, 5'6". James Madison, 5'4". Now, some people, in my opinion, ignorantly point to James Madison, and they said, look how short that guy was. James Madison was brilliant. He had an incredible mind. He was a very sickly child. He grew up to be a sickly man, and so he had to rely on his brain and not his brawn. He was a brilliant mind, and he also had many things working for him. Okay? There was no radio, so no one would have heard his sickly voice, and most importantly, there's no television. Most people didn't know what James Madison looked like. They didn't realize how short he was. The visual aspect is key to humans. So, technically, the first televised debate was in 1956. Okay? And it was between Eisenhower and this other guy. I can't think of his name, but people don't really count it because I think his name is Stevenson. I think it was like Eisenhower versus Stevenson, but they weren't there at the debate. So people point to 1960 in Kennedy versus Nixon. And it's like, okay, here's the thing. JFK was a good looking dude. Alright? And he was 6'1". He was a tall dude. The average height of a man is 6'9". I mean, not 6'9", 69 inches. So what is that? That's 5 foot 9 inches. Okay. So I personally, I'm shorter than the average guy. And this is for measured average height, weight, and waist circumference for adults aged 20 and over. And this is from the CDC. Okay, so 5 foot 9. So me and Pete and myself are shorter than the average man. Presidents historically have been taller than the average Joe. Being taller helps you, especially in politics. Pete's not going to win. He has no shot. Now, let me go to the gay thing, okay? And here's another thing where people will say, "Oh, you're criticizing blacks." I'm just saying blacks tend to not favor we aren't as supportive of the LGBTQ community as other demographics. It's just that simple. Okay, so older generations, there's less support. So let me pull up this graph right here. Okay, so millennials currently are at 74%. So 74% of millennials, and this is from pewforum.org. They're connected with Pew Research Center. So, they're solid, okay? And also let me just say this about millennials. Okay? So, a lot of people I know my age say that we millennials. Okay, I'm not a millennial. I'm Generation Z. Very simple. If you were born after 1996, you're Gen Z. Millennials are from people born from 1981 to 1996. Okay, so I'm Gen Z. Okay? So just, know which group you're part of, okay? Alright. So 74% of millennial adults support same-sex marriage. Okay? Next is Gen X. So the one right behind us. They're at 58%. Next, baby boomers. 1946 to 64. That's where my parents are, 51%. Then you have the silent generation of 1928 to 1945, and they're at 45%. Okay, so that's interesting. So each newer generation, they are supporting, same-sex marriage. Okay, and so 57% of U.S. adults 57% of adult men favor same-sex marriage. And women is 66%. Okay, and these stats that I'm looking at, it's from 2001 to 2019. Now, let me go to race and ethnicity. Okay. So, this is between Hispanics, whites, and blacks. Okay, so blacks currently, we're at 51% of U.S. adults. 51% of black U.S. adults favor same-sex marriage. Okay, and that's, with Hispanic, it's 58%. White is 62%. The black community, when it comes to gays, lesbians, bisexuals, transgenders, anything that's not heterosexual and that's not, the norm, we are hesitant. That's why that's one reason Pete Buttigieg is not going to win. Because he can't get the black vote. Him being gay, it works against him in the black community. Just plain and simple. He's going to try and gain support from the black community, and it's just not going to work. Because it's like, look, man, politics aside, it's just we collectively, blacks are like, you're gay. I'm not saying we hate gays. We're just hesitant. We're more hesitant than other groups to embrace it and accept it. Okay? But anyway, Pete's not going to win. I'm telling you, it's going to be Warren, Biden, Sanders. Those are going to be the final three. Now, who do I think will drop out next? So the last person to drop out was Beto. Or should I say Robert Francis O'Rourke. The next person that I see dropping out, and this is just my gut, is Kamala Harris. It's either Kamala Harris or it's Castro. Because Castro, I've heard zilch about him. And you know what? That may be because I'm just not really paying attention to this Democratic, to the presidential election, because I know Trump's going to be in. But Kamala Harris, she just fired everybody in, what state was it? I think New Hampshire. She just cut everybody. She's running low on cash. People don't want her in. So she's going to be next out, in my opinion. Personally, I thought she would drop out before Beto did. But that didn't happen. Okay, so I'll give Kamala credit for that. Congratulations, you beat Beto. And she just qualified for the debate in December. And these debates, man, they're just hurting the Democrats. They don't see it. It's just horrible. But anyway, that's why Pete's not going to win. Pete, he's just a short guy. He's a short dude. I'm looking at this. There's a really good chart on Macleans.ca, Macleans.ca. And there's a great chart on the president's height chart. And what it is, it shows presidential heights and average U.S. males. And there's a red line that goes across the chart from one side to the other, and it points to, how tall, it shows how tall the average height is, of the male during that time. And it also shows the presidents in, black silhouettes, or black outlines, I should say. And they're really tall or, really short. It just shows their height. So I'm looking here. The last president to be under the average male height was Jimmy Carter. Reagan beat it. Bush beat it. Clinton beat it. The next Bush beat it. Obama beat it. Trump is beating it. Okay, and then before Jimmy Carter, you had Gerald Ford. Nixon beat it. Lyndon Baines Johnson beat it. Kennedy beat it. Eisenhower beat it. Truman was just under it. So ever since Nagasaki and Hiroshima got blown to smithereens, we have had 2 presidents under the average height. Pete isn't getting in. Politics aside, the visual aspect, you look at him and people are just like, no, you're short, dude. It's just that simple.